This video needs an introduction because this video is going to be very, very weird. We are going to do some chaos magic with Alice in Wonderland, one of my favorite stories that was so impactful for my magical practice. So if you don't know what chaos magic is, I have a whole playlist on the homepage of my YouTube channel. It talks about what is chaos magic. I've got everything on there: sigils, hyper sigils, servitors, different aspects of chaos magic and paradigm jumping and so on. So I'm not really going to be discussing what chaos magic is in this video. If you're brand new to the occult, witchcraft, or spiritual scenes though, I would recommend you watch my video on pop culture magic because that is really where we are going to be playing today. So I want to take you along with me as I construct this ritual inspired by Alice in Wonderland. So here's the deal. The reason why I'm doing this video is because a couple months ago, I had made a video saying that I wanted to shift the focus on this channel to introduce pieces of literature into an occult, chaos magic, witchcraft practice, and how we can get inspiration from these beautiful works of art. So if you missed it, I started a series called Literature for Occultists, and episode 1 was a gothic, sapphic vampire novella, and I talked about all the different ways that it can inspire your practice. And then I had my channel members vote. I had them vote between Alice in Wonderland, The Picture of Dorian Gray, or Shakespeare's Macbeth. And out of all 3 of those, they chose Alice in Wonderland. So that's what we're going to be deep diving into today. I do want to talk about literature on this channel so much more, but right after I made that video, I ended up getting a new job, which completely took my focus away from YouTube, and I just haven't had the time to read a lot of books. So we're back at it. We're gonna do some pop culture chaos magic. This is going to be pure fun, pure creative energy. So let me talk about the ritual that we're gonna do together. And then after the ritual, I will discuss other ways that you could use the ideas from Alice in Wonderland in your practice. So today's ritual is really about entering an altered state of consciousness to reach deep into your mind, uncover something that you may not be fully aware of, and either bring that thing to the surface with you when you come out of that trance state, or to banish that thing that you find. So we're doing a little bit of a descent into madness. Parts of this may be a little sketchy, maybe a little extreme, but that's okay because we're here to play. So first things first, we're setting up the ritual space. I'm deciding to do this outdoors, but you could of course do this in your bedroom or any other room of your house. You're gonna want to build some sort of fort or tube or tunnel because yes, we are going into Wonderland. I went all out for this video, y'all. I went all out. I bought this tube from Amazon. Let me actually insert some footage from that. Okay, it just arrived. This is hilarious. Let me show this to you. Okay, let's open it together because I don't even know how big this is gonna be. I didn't check the measurements and I really should have. This is absurd. This is nonsensical. This is absurd. Okay, I acknowledge how ridiculous this is, and that's the point. Nonsense is the point. There is something so freeing about silly things because it breaks you from ordinary reality. Here it is in all its glory. I hope I can fit through here. No, I could definitely fit through here. Let's find out. It's gonna work, you guys, okay? This is the most insane thing I've done for a YouTube video. So we are going to meditate, enter a trance state, then crawl through this tube to symbolize us descending into Wonderland and into the ritual space that we have constructed. So I am going to employ a little bit of witchcraft methods in this because I will be casting a circle around the entire area that I will be crawling into. So for the purpose of this ritual, I'm going to assume that you already know how to cast a circle. If you don't know how to do that in your own witchcraft practice, there's a million videos online. I encourage you to come back to this ritual after you've learned the basics. So I'm assuming that you're not a beginner because we're descending into madness together. So step 1, we are going to set up the ritual space. This involves either building a fort with blankets. You could probably take 2 chairs and stack them next together and then, you know, put a blanket over the top, something to crawl through, or getting a little tube, something that you can crawl into as a threshold. It is going to symbolize the threshold between ordinary reality and non-ordinary reality. And on the other side of that threshold, whatever it is that you choose, you decide to build a fort out of blankets and chairs, or or you decide to get a little funhouse tube, that is up to you. On the other side of that, you are going to set up your space with all the materials you need. I recommend dimming the lights and using only candlelight if possible, especially because we are going to be doing a little bit of scrying in order to see into our mind. And to scry, I highly recommend either using a mirror to kind of symbolize the looking glass in the second Alice in Wonderland, or getting a bowl of water. Some sort of reflective surface is fine if you like to use a piece of obsidian for this. Anything that you can scry with, it does not matter. But you're going to want to do this by candlelight. So setting up that area, you want to make sure that the lights are turned off, you potentially just have candles, you have your scrying medium, and it's on the other side of that threshold that you are going to crawl out of. So once the space is set up, we're gonna sit at the entrance of your threshold. I would recommend meditating here, entering a light trance. I personally am going to be drinking some mugwort tea because I find that it really helps me enter trance state a lot easier. So I will take a moment to mindfully drink some mugwort tea, do some meditation, and then when I feel like I'm in that trance state, I will crawl through the threshold. Once the ritual space is set up, you're going to cast your circle, of course. Then comes the process of crawling through the threshold. There are a couple different ways that you could go about this. You could either make it really silly and fun and playful, maybe put on some drumming and chanting and really try to let yourself get into this ecstatic state, or you can focus more on stillness and achieving an inhibitory altered state of consciousness where you are crawling slowly through this threshold and either visualizing certain things, maybe you're meditating on a specific color that pertains to what you're hoping to find on the other side. For me, I've done many meditations in the past where I take a moment to check in with myself, right? So I do a quick body scan, I start at the top of my head and slowly work my way down to my shoulders, my arms, down to my hips and to my feet. And you're just progressively relaxing all of your muscles as you work your way down your body. And then from there, I enter my mind palace. If you don't know what a mind palace is, I'm gonna link my video below describing that whole process of creating one, what it is, all the different rooms that you could have in your mind palace, and so on and so forth. So I will definitely link that video if that is something you're not familiar with. But I enter the mind palace, and in that space, I open the door, walk up the stairs, and of course there are various rooms for various purposes. Wonderland for me always sits at the very end of the hallway, and I put it there because it takes a while for me to visualize myself walking through the different areas of my mind palace that I've built, and I'm getting into a deeper trance the more I'm walking through this landscape that I've created. So at the very end of the hallway, all the way down at the end, we have the door to Wonderland. I've talked about this in some of my videos in the past, especially when I talk about the creation of servitors. There's kind of a textbook way to create servitors, and then there's my method of creating servitors, which is in Wonderland. I have a servitor workshop, which is where I create, destroy, and adjust the servitors that I'm working with. So opening the door to Wonderland, you can either visualize yourself hopping through a rabbit hole, or maybe visualize a specific door with a certain color that symbolizes Wonderland for you, and get really detailed too. What does the doorknob look like? What does the framing look like around the door? And as you open the door, you are entering Wonderland in your mind as you're crawling through the threshold and entering that non-ordinary reality. So now on the other side of the physical threshold, you have left ordinary reality and you are now in this liminal space. Now in this liminal space, we are going to sit here and we are going to scry. So again, pick up your looking glass, your bowl of water, your black obsidian, whatever has some sort of reflective surface on it. The whole point of this is to really reflect into our subconscious mind. And by candlelight, you are going to soften your gaze and you're going to allow yourself to try to see what images come up. Don't try to interpret them right away. Allow your eyes to glaze over as you stare into this reflective surface and just receive. You don't need to make sense of it all right now. It might be helpful to have a journal or just a piece of paper and a pen next to you. And you can choose to jot down those things if you'd like, or maybe do a little bit of automatic writing if you feel divinely inspired for that. But you're going to sit in this space as long as you need to sit in this space until you're able to see deep into the depths of your psyche. And then from here, it's time to decide, are we bringing this piece back with us into ordinary reality? Is this something that you want to embody? Is this something that you felt like was lost and is now found and you want to keep it with you throughout your day? Or is it something that needs to be banished? Did you find something that maybe you didn't realize was there and you'd rather not integrate it with your whole self? Maybe it's something you didn't even realize was there. It is up to your discretion. This is your ritual. This is your descent into madness. Now let's talk about what to do when you find whatever it is through the looking glass. So let's say you find something that you want to banish, okay? You are wanting to banish the thing that you found while scrying. You can do this through mirror dissolution. So at the very end of your trance, you're going to want to close your eyes, face the mirror, and visualize this image completely melting or shattering into fractals of light or shards of glass. Alternatively, you can take something to write on the mirror with and do a backward spiral or counterclockwise, and you are going to draw a spiral motion with either your hand, a cloth, or something to write on the mirror with, such as lipstick or erasable marker or something of that nature. And you're chanting the words, "Back to your world, not mine. Back to your world, not mine." And you're going to smear that spiral, smudge it, and wipe it completely off with a cloth afterwards. In addition, you could also do a physical exit banishment. So on your way out of the tunnel that you have created, or the threshold, the fort of blankets and chairs, you can carry a small bowl of salt water and sprinkle it behind you as you crawl, saying something along the lines of, "I banish you from my mind, you cannot follow. I banish you from my mind, you cannot follow." And feel free to make your own banishing ritual here. I really think that this needs to be personalized. These are really just examples for you to play off on. Now, let's say it's not something that you want to banish. Let's say it's something that you find deep into your psyche that you want to integrate into your whole persona, that you want to bring back from non-ordinary consciousness to ordinary reality. You can do this with a mirror pull through. So at the very end of your trance, you're going to place your palm on the mirror and you're going to visualize drawing that thing through the glass into your palm or into your heart. And you may whisper something along the lines of, "From dream to waking, you walk with me. From dream to waking, you walk with me." And you visualize taking that thing with you as you crawl back through the threshold. Alternatively, you can bring a token or a key or a vessel into your ritual space for this specific purpose of attaching that thing. Whatever that thing is that you find while scrying, you can attach it to this physical item. So have a small object ready, a key, a crystal, a stone, a charm, a ribbon, it does not matter. During this trance, you're gonna place this thing's energy into it by breathing onto the item as you're holding it to the mirror and visualizing that thing entering the item via your breath. Now, let's say you find something that you don't really know if you should banish it or not. You don't really know if you want to integrate it either. I would recommend bringing a holding jar into the ritual space. So a holding jar can be anything with salt and a lid. When you're exiting this trance that you have with your mirror, the looking glass, the bowl of water, what have you, you are going to invite this thing to come back with you through the jar. Seal it, then crawl back through the threshold. If you are utilizing the holding jar in this situation, I would recommend dealing with it within the next 3 days or so, rather than just letting it sit in there for all of eternity. So give it a couple nights to sleep on it if you're really unsure of what to do with this thing that you have found, and then do a follow-up ritual where, again, you're entering an altered state of consciousness, you're in a trance as you open the jar, and then you're either banishing it or integrating it, whatever you so choose. Now, this ritual is highly customizable. I'm really just giving you the bare bones to go off and create and do something really magically inspiring. I am not claiming that this is a beginner-friendly ritual. I am assuming that you already know how to center and ground your energy. You already know the basics of energy manipulation. Most of the videos that I do on this channel are for practitioners who have a little bit more experience under their belt, so I definitely wouldn't recommend a descent into Alice in Wonderland madness for the absolute beginner who doesn't know anything about energy manipulation yet. I always want to make sure that I'm very clear about that with a lot of my videos. But I chose to do the ritual, and I had some really great insights, so I will show that ritual footage with you now. So I obviously did not film myself doing the ritual. I wanted a little bit of privacy with that. So that's why I filmed most of that footage during the day and then performed the ritual this evening. But I wanted to share some reflections. I was planning on sharing my whole experience, but honestly, it was so personal. I do not want to share what I found on a YouTube video. I'm sorry. I'm just not, some things do not need to be shared with the internet. I will say though, I thought it was going to be something that I would need to banish. I was very, very pleasantly surprised to find something that I wanted to bring back with me. I didn't know how this ritual was going to go. I didn't know if it was going to be ridiculous, silly, to the point where nothing happened. This was a really emotionally moving ritual. So much more emotional than I thought it was going to be. I thought the tunnel was going to be really quite silly and ridiculous, but I felt the shift. I felt the shift crawling through the tunnel as I was working those visualizations that I was speaking of. And so yeah, I am filming this a little disheveled because it is late at night, but one piece of wisdom that I wanted to share from actually doing the ritual is I decided to bring the Alice in Wonderland book into the ritual space. I just thought, why not? Let's bring the book in and see what happens. I'm glad I did that. Highly suggest if you have the actual physical copy of Alice in Wonderland, bring it into your ritual space for bibliomancy purposes. Because there was a point in my ritual where I was a little bit unsure and I needed just some extra reassurance. And I was able to take that Alice in Wonderland book, open it up to a random page and read a passage of wisdom. That's kind of how bibliomancy works. So I was able to use the book for guidance during the ritual. So I highly recommend if you have the book, put it in your ritual space, use it for bibliomancy. That definitely came in handy for me, but what a powerful, moving experience. I wanted to compose myself after a ritual, so it's kind of been some time, since that all went down, because it was very emotionally moving and very, very personal. I really encourage you to try this for yourself. I really hope that you enjoyed this ritual. It was so creatively fulfilling for me, and sometimes we just take life too damn seriously. So I really, really enjoyed making this video and going all out for it. Let me know your thoughts. There's also so many other aspects of the Alice in Wonderland story that could be played upon in someone's magical occult practice. Thinking about the symbolism of jumping down the rabbit hole and going on some sort of journey, or trance work with that. We could even work with potions if we think about the eat me, drink me, size shrinking and size expanding components. Or what about the Mad Hatter's tea ceremony? Or working with these archetypal energies such as the Red Queen for rage, or the Mad Hatter for insanity, or the rabbit. The rabbit can symbolize time. Maybe you want to work with the Cheshire Cat or the caterpillar, or maybe just Alice for curiosity. I often embody Alice. Alice is my alter ego every time I go into an altered state, because for me, she symbolizes this pure, innocent curiosity and wonderment and wanting to see and do and experience everything. Even the talking flowers, there's rituals that we could do surrounding the different flowers that Alice encounters. So if this is something that's interesting to you, let me know in the comments. Maybe we can do another Alice in Wonderland inspired ritual in the future. Or maybe next we do the picture of Dorian Gray. Or maybe we do Shakespeare's Macbeth. I don't know. I would love to hear your feedback on this Literature for Occultists series, because I think it's a really creative way to inspire us. I know my first episode when I talked about Camilla, it was a little bit more talking head style, where I was sitting down with tea and discussing all the different aspects of that novella and the ways that we could bring it in. Whereas this one was a little bit more demonstrative, where I actually showed you a ritual. So let me know too which of those formats that you would prefer. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.